Welcome to the Graybar Sports Open Line.
Goldschmidt swings and he hits a drive. He hits a slammer.
Graybar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs.
Here we go.
Now, Matt Pauley on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
All right, man, let's get going here.
Here we go. Let's go.
A very good Thursday night to you. Welcome in. It's another Graybar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. My name is Matt Pauley. We've got a full 2-hour edition of the program coming your way tonight. We have a jam-packed show. Sometimes, like when it comes to getting guests and things, we reach out and we don't hear back. Or like today's one of these days where everything that we reached out for came back, and we've just got a lot that's going to be taking place between now and 8 o'clock this hour. We're going to be joined by KMOX's own Dan Reardon. We'll talk golf with him as we've got the PGA underway. Also, this hour, we're going to preview what's going on with the Cardinals this weekend. They match up against the Red Sox, and Devin Kerr. Actually, check that out. We're going to do that next hour. This hour, we'll talk City SC with Devin Kerr, who's part of the team at Apple TV and MLS Season Pass. And then next hour, we are going to talk with Missouri State men's basketball coach Cuonzo Martin as he returns to that program, a program that he had previously coached at. Chad Jennings is from The Athletic. He covers the Red Sox, so we'll preview the Cardinals-Red Sox series with him. And then we just got confirmation just a couple moments ago. We're going to have a Battlehawk joining us at about 7:05 or so as Jared Jones-Smith is going to join us. He was an all-XFL player last season, left tackle, spent some time with the Washington Commanders before returning to the team this year, and we'll talk with him coming up in the 7 o'clock hour as well. So as mentioned, we have a lot going on. As always, if you want to get involved in the program, there are multiple ways for you to get connected. You can call or text 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900, or you can tweet at me if you'd like, at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. We do start with the Cardinals. They lose yesterday. I'll tell you what, I was pretty bummed out by that loss yesterday for the Cardinals. And one win or one loss certainly does not make or break a season. And I understand that. And when you watch baseball, when you talk about baseball, when you cover baseball, you have to understand that you can't get too worked up about a single game at any moment or time. But sometimes when the momentum is starting to turn in your direction and you can be one win away from the momentum really being real and there being accomplishments and really moving forward, it works in the other way, the other direction as well. Yeah, I'm not convinced that there wouldn't have been some type of change with this team had they lost that final game of the Brewers series. They lost 7 in a row. And if they go get swept in a 4-game series by Milwaukee, it would not have shocked me if there was some type of change the next day. I don't know what that change would have been, but it felt like there could have been a change. Instead, they win that game, and it seems like that was the moment where they are able to kind of pump the brakes and they win the next 2 games against the Angels, and you go from there. So there are times where you feel like you're on the brink of something, positive or negative, and winning one game or losing one game can push it over that line or not. And to me, in many ways, losing yesterday's game was one of those days where it really kind of changes the way you view the road trip. Because if they win yesterday, they have a winning road trip. That's fine. That's good. Now you don't want to lose 3 straight to Milwaukee. You play 4 against a divisional opponent and 3 against an interleague opponent. The last thing you want is for 3 of the potential 4 wins. And again, they just got the 3. But if they would have won yesterday, you really don't want 75% of your wins on that trip being against the interleague opponent, not the divisional opponent. But the tone of this show, the tone of the conversation, I think, in this city about the team is a little bit different if they win yesterday, because they sweep a series for the first time. They win a series finale. They go 4-3 on the road trip. Offensively, you're probably focused in on the things that they did well, and it just didn't happen. So again, it's one game. You don't want to, nothing's being made or broken because of one game. I understand that. But yesterday was an opportunity. Yesterday was an opportunity for it to really feel like they had started to turn this thing around. And now I think these next 9 games are pivotal. I think they are incredibly pivotal. I still think this team is kind of there on the brink. You still look at what happened against the White Sox, where they lost 2 out of 3, and everything that has happened from that moment. When they went into that White Sox series, it felt like that was the opportunity for them to take off, and they did the exact opposite of that. And yes, they have won 3 of their last 4. I'm not trying to be dismissive of what's happened, but this is a huge 3-game series. Or not 3-game series, but 3-team homestand is what I mean to say. Cardinals right now are 18-25. They're 7 games under 500. They're 8 games out of first place. I'm not overly worried about those numbers. I've said that over and over, that you can find your way out of that predicament if you play good baseball. But when we haven't played especially good baseball at home, and you've got some interesting series. Boston, they're fine. They're a good team. They're a 500 club. I think, but you play them at home, you should be able to win 2 out of 3. We'll see what happens with Baltimore. Baltimore's a really, really, really good baseball team. And then they've got a 3-game series against a team that they're chasing in the division, in the Cubs. And Cubs are a pretty good baseball team. So when this series of 9 games, 3 against Boston, 3 against Baltimore, 3 against Chicago, gets done on Sunday, May 26th, I would suspect that we're going to be able to take a step back and really have more of an idea about whether or not this team has the opportunity, has the chance to dig themselves out of this hole that they've put themselves in, or if it's just going to kind of continue to go down the same path that it has mostly been going down this season. Again, if you want to join us, you can do so by calling or texting 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900, or you can tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air. We've got a lot coming up on the program. We'll talk golf with our guy, Dan Reardon, joins us in just a moment as we roll on with the Gray Bar Sports Open Line here on KMOX.
Do you limp out of bed with a sharp pain in your heel? Maybe it feels better when you start walking, but then bam, feels crippling.
On Studios.
KMOX.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Back at you, the PGA Championship underway. They are wrapping up the first round as we speak, playing at Valhalla in Louisville, Kentucky. And we're very happy to be able to welcome on our own Dan Reardon as he continues to do a fantastic job covering golf as he has done for so many years for KMOX. And he joins us right now. Dan, appreciate you taking some time with us today. How are you?
I appreciate the visit, and I'm fine.
How did you think the course played here on day number one?
Easy, extremely easy. We, as you mentioned, we still have a few rounds to complete, but right now we have 66 players in at under par, and that will be a record for the first round of the PGA Championship. The previous record is 60. So not only do we have a headliner shooting 62 and 9 under par, but we have a field that's just annihilated this golf course.
Yeah, Xander Schauffele, the guy who's 9 under, he's 3 strokes ahead of a couple guys in second place, including Tony Finau. When you've got a day one like this, will they do what they can tomorrow with pin placement and things like that to try to bring it back a little bit?
No, they really don't. And you know, the PGA, as opposed to the other 3 majors, I guess to a certain point, the Open Championship is of that same mind. But the PGA in particular has always made it known that they're not sensitive to good scores. And if they were sensitive to good scores, that, you know, they came to the right place, because Tiger Woods won here 16 years ago at 18 under par, and Rory McIlroy won here 10 years ago at 16 under par. So it's no surprise. Maybe the volume of under par scores, and some of that is because they had rain early in the week on Monday and Tuesday. You know, I was out on the course just a little bit today, and where the spectators are walking, it's still a little muddy. So that circumstance works to the advantage, not only in terms of players being able to put the ball on the green and control it, but keep it in the fairway. So it's not anything. And so they know right now where the hole locations are going to be on Sunday afternoon. That's all prescribed. The only thing would ever change that if you had a huge volume of rain and there were areas of the greens that they feared would be sort of unplayable, and then they would make an adjustment.
You mentioned Tiger Woods. He was 1 under through 16, and then he bogeys his final 2 holes, and he's a 1 over 72. That's a disappointing finish for a guy who's trying to get to the weekend.
Absolutely. And I believe Tiger opened with a birdie, so it was a positive start. But again, you have to put this in perspective. When you take that number and then you look at Tiger's round, you have to combine those 2 elements. I looked it up. When the opening round this year at Augusta, he shot 1 over par 73, and he was tied for 35th in the field. Right now, he's in at 1 over par 72, and he's tied for 86th in the field. And 86 means he gets to spend the weekend at home unless he's able to play at a level that we have not seen from him in quite some time. He's going to have to shoot for sure something in the 60s and maybe a little deeper into the 60s and 69 in order to just find a place in the field on the weekend. So it's not so much whether Tiger played well or played poorly. Tiger can't go into fields like this in his current situation as a golfer and expect to play deep in red numbers as he did, in 2000 when, that was the third leg of the Tiger Slam, and everybody was going low at that time, and Tiger could go lower than anybody. He's not that player anymore, and it's going to be a struggle to get to the weekend.
When you look at the top of the leaderboard, there is one name there that I don't think is overly a household name to golf fans. I'm probably going to butcher his name, I believe. Is it Sith Tagala? Am I getting that right?
You got the last name right. It's Sahith Tagala.
Okay.
And he's a guy that became sort of a star on Full Swing in the first season because he was the one with the Indian parents who followed his career, and he had a couple of near misses. I think one was in Arizona. I don't remember where the other one was. A very legitimate player, a native-born American, played maybe in the Pac-10 collegiately. He's the real deal. You would not expect him to break through and win a major championship against this kind of talent, but he's probably a newer version of Tony Finau in that regard. So don't dismiss his chances. But as I said, we had the situation on Sunday where Rory McIlroy buried Xander Schauffele absolutely buried him on the back nine. And Xander comes back and shoots 9 under in response to that. Rory comes back and shoots 5 under in response to that. And by the way, Scotty Scheffler is just wrapping up his round, and he started his round by eagling the par first hole. He knocked it in from 167 for a 2, and now he's 4 under. So there's a lot of talent at the top of this leaderboard, and it's going to be a fun couple or 3 days because of that.
Yeah, it's a great looking top of the leaderboard. In addition to Schauffele and Tagala, you got Tony Finau there, who's 6 under. Rory is 5 under. Brooks Koepka is 4 under. Morikawa is 4 under. Scotty Scheffler is 4 under. So there's a lot of names up there that people are very familiar with, and I'm sure from a TV perspective and from a PGA Championship, they like having those names near the top.
And the good news to add to that is the current forecast has been revised. You know, they expect a significant rain on Friday. The most recent forecast has afternoon showers as a possibility, but even those showers do not include thunder and lightning. So if that forecast holds true, they'll have one afternoon of a minor amount of disruption in play, not halting of play, just distractions. And then they'll have the weekend free and clear. And, you know, I'm not a fan of people going crazy in terms of relationship to par, particularly in majors. But I'm telling you that they've had three PGAs here at Valhalla, and all 3 have been entertaining. Mark Brooks in a playoff win over Kenny Perry. Tiger, I said, the 3rd leg of the Grand Slam, running away from the field, and then Rory McIlroy playing in absolute darkness, finishing the PGA Championship in 2014. I don't like the golf course. I don't like that kind of scoring, but I love the drama.
Last thing for you, and this is unrelated to the event this weekend, but it feels like the PGA Live drama really picked up again this past weekend. We've seen, or this past week, a lot of drama going on. We've seen, we saw Jimmy Dunn come off the PGA Tour policy board. There was another golfer in the last week that was going to be on a board and decide not to. Now with this merger, I mean, there's just a lot going on. How long is it going to take for us to find some kind of calm waters in the world of golf?
I don't think we're going to see this resolved clearly until near the end of the year, if at that point. But let me just pass along a small rumor that circulated around, and I'm not around the golf media that much except when I come to events like this. I am told that despite $600 million in the bank, that Jon Rahm is regretting his decision to play on the LIV tour, and he's done very little on that tour and played poorly at the Masters and played poorly again today. So there's not all, you know, you can have all the money in the world, and he has all the money in the world. But when you're Jon Rahm's age, there's things you want out of life that he may not have access to. And that's the kind of thing that's going to put pressure on these entities to resolve it. There's a few players on that LIV tour. Bryson DeChambeau is in that situation. Rahm is in that situation. Joaquin Niemann is in the situation. They want to play with the best players in the world. And right now, that scenario is not in place for them. And the upper hand right now belongs back in the PGA Tour's hand because they got $3 billion from an outside investor, and they can play a little more patience in dealing with the Saudis.
He is Dan Reardon, has covered golf for KMOX for so long and does a great job with it. Dan, enjoy the run of the tournament. We'll be listening to your reports here on the station. Thank you so much for taking some time.
Enjoyed it, Matt.
All right, that is Dan Reardon. We've got a little bit of breaking traffic news to get to. I'm going to hand things off right now to Maria Kina.
Thank you,
This is breaking news from St. Louis's News Radio, KMOX.
Yes, we've got some problems on 55 right now. They just reopened northbound 55.
For City SC as they end up losing their midweek matchup against LAFC at home 2-0. You never want to let home games go in that direction, but they don't have much time to think about that. They'll be on the road to match up against Cincinnati coming up this weekend. Of course, you can watch all the games on MLS Season Pass, which is part of Apple TV. They just do a fantastic job covering the sport of soccer, and we're very happy to welcome on the guy who's going to be on the call as the analyst this weekend. He is Devin Kerr. You follow him on Twitter at DevinKerr9. Devin, thanks so much for taking some time with us today. How are you?
Appreciate you having me. Thanks for giving away my secret hiding spot on social media. Now everybody's going to track me down after the match.
I did not know it was a secret spot.
You're good.
Yeah. So, what did you take away from yesterday's matchup? Because obviously City did not have a great performance, not scoring a goal and losing at home, a place that they're pretty successful at more often than not.
Respectfully, I would say that the not having a great performance doesn't encompass the entire 90 minutes. Thought they did really well for themselves in the opening 45 and couldn't score goals. And it's that simple, especially when you're matched up against a team like LAFC that has way too much quality. You let a team like that hang around, they're going to make you pay eventually. And that's exactly what happened. Now, the second half was a different conversation. I don't think the same intensity was there. They weren't as clean on the ball. And not that City needs the ball a ton, but when they have it, they just needed to be better in decision making. And the game plan changed with the subs that came on. Couldn't be as impactful. But if I'm a City fan, though, I'm not worried overall from that one match, just because of the growth that I've seen within this team over the past couple of matches. They've taken some quality strides in the final third, most importantly.
You mentioned the subs. How challenging is it when you're in one of these stretches where you're playing the 3 matches over 8 days? Because it does seem like some of these in-game decisions you have to do things a little bit different just to survive those 3 matches.
You got to try and keep everybody healthy first and foremost, right? I don't think the average person understands the toll that these athletes puts on their bodies. And having lived it myself, you get up and you feel like you've gone to war, and immediately you have to hit the reset button. It's even harder for City right now because everybody's coming back from injury, right? So we just saw the addition of Joachim Nielsen back into the lineup, which is great. Certainly the preferred partner next to Tim Parker, but you still got Jibril Blum, who's coming back from that groin injury. You know, there was some unfortunate news that came out with Edouard Leuven and his personal status, but he's obviously been dealing with a little bit of a hamstring injury as well. Josh Yaro's in the mix. So finding the right rotation isn't the easiest thing. And there's an interesting stat, though, that I would take a silver lining out of this conversation. Last year, St. Louis City, in the entire season, all competitions, only started the same lineup back-to-back 3 separate times. 4 games in a row, Bradley Carnell, this is prior to the LAFC match, rolled out the same 11. They've built some chemistry. I like the movements we've seen from the team. You're definitely going to see some squad rotation come the match on Saturday against FC Cincinnati. And full transparency, Bradley Carnell is usually really open behind the scenes with us about what that squad selection will look like. Because of the lack of depth right now, because guys aren't fully fit for 90 minutes, he was very honest and said, I'm not exactly sure where we stand right now. So we're probably still a solid 24 to 36 hours to figuring out exactly what kind of health they're dealing with right now.
And real quickly, you mentioned the personal news with Edouard Leuven. And I'm not sure if all of our listeners know about the news that came out today. He told reporters that his wife has been diagnosed with brain cancer. That slowed down his rehab process. He was coming back from a hamstring injury. Obviously, he was going to spend time with her. Said that his wife is doing well at the moment. It's been, I don't know how much time you've spent on social media today, Devin, but it's been really good to see the outpouring of support for him on social media. And it just kind of goes to show you St. Louis is a great soccer city. You got great soccer fans, and it's a great league. And it really feels like everybody right now is rallying around him.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've been all over it. And, you know, it's such rapid information for sportscasters to be able to see what's going on. And in this situation, obviously, it's not news that you want to get. I actually have a friend of mine who is dealing with something personal as well, Rodrigo Lopez. He plays for Sacramento Republic. His son, the news kind of came out on social a couple of weeks back. His son's going through heart surgery. But again, it's bigger than this game, right? It's life is, it just means so much more. I know it sounds so common for someone like me or anybody to have that come out of their mouths, but we get wrapped up in it, right? Mm-hmm. The emotional side of this that overtakes us can supersede common sense at times. And yet, I said silver lining before. The positive you can take out of it is the fact that this isn't a team. This is a community. This is a culture. This is a lifestyle that has been so kind to so many people. And certainly the relationship that Eduard Löwen has been able to create in the city and with the fans and everybody involved in it. And I'm sure that I speak for everybody when I say all you want there is just a positive outcome and a healthy recovery, however long that takes and whatever road that may come of.
Every match you can look into it, win, loss, tie, and there's been obviously a lot of ties this year for City SC. You can find the good stuff. You can find the not so good stuff. You just talked about what happened in yesterday's matchup. But this is a team that still seems like they're trying to gain traction from a stringing wins together perspective. They had that good win against Chicago where they put up 3 goals, but then they come up yesterday and they can't find a way to score. What's missing right now? What's that next step that this team needs to make for them to find a little bit more consistency and find a way to string some wins together?
My first answer would be trying to find a way to recreate the stats from Joe Aquini and his departure, because João Klaus, as good as he is, he's going to have off nights. He's going to have times where the game doesn't go his way, where he's marked out of a match. And whether it's a running partner within the game or a substitute coming off the bench, they've got to find a way to be more regularly impactful there. So remember I talked about the substitutes at the beginning of this conversation. I said that they didn't really have the impact. Well, against a team like LAFC and the way that the game was going, I didn't think that Sam Adeniran was the correct choice there. The problem for Bradley Carnell is he doesn't exactly have depth at the 9 position overall. So if you want an out-and-out striker and you want fresh legs and chase the game, sure, Sam Adeniran makes sense. But the way the game was going, you had to play into his feet. He was back to goal more. That's not a strong suit of his. And that's where the versatility aspect of Joe Aquini last year was so good, because the profile, although it could change dramatically, he could also replicate a lot of things that João Klaus is capable of. So you have to find a way to get more of an impact up top when you make changes on the offensive end. I do think the growth patterns on the defensive front and within the midfield have taken some steps. They still need to get better. Some of the crossing patterns have been really good. Celio Pompeu, once again, continues to make strides out on that left-hand side. There's an interesting trend right now for this team in the way that they build, and good and bad that has come out of it. And if you think last year, both outside backs used to bomb up and down the pitch regularly, right? And what you saw towards the tail end of the year, certainly Marcanic and what he was able to do. Well, with the addition of Thomas Totland, that's been more of a right-sided impact over the last 5 or 6 games. They build out of the 3. Okay, that's not groundbreaking, but Marcanic stays home more often than not. So because of the reliance on the right-hand flank, it becomes a bit predictable. When I said that it contradicts itself, I say that because Bradley Carnell felt that they were predictable towards the tail end of the season. I agree with that. So though you're over-pivoting to the right and you're giving yourself a different look, everybody kind of knows you're going that way, but they've gotten more out of the midfield. So there's this ebb and flow of, okay, well, we're not going to do it like we did at the end of last year. We're going to be a bit more impactful here. We're going to see growth here, but that's really only taken shape over the past 3 or 4 games. Friendly reminder to the fan base, you're only 5 points off the pace from last year. 5 points right now get you in a second place in the Western Conference. We are a long ways away from the finish line. There are at least 6 teams in the Western Conference right now that I have no clue what they are. There's no identity, and they're trying to chase results. Long-winded answer, there's an identity set for City, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on the call. I believe in the team and what they're capable of on the pitch.
They've got a really tough opponent, though, this week in FC Cincinnati. That's a really good team, and obviously that's going to be a big challenge.
Yeah, FC Cincinnati is an interesting one because they've gotten better every single year. If I'm City right now, I'm scared to play them. It's not because of Lucho Acosta, believe it or not, because he's always a constant and he's great. It's not because of the great defensive front. I'm scared because I believe they just got the missing piece, Kevin Kelsey, the Venezuelan striker who's come over on loan from Shakhtar Donetsk in the Ukrainian Russian area. He's got a little bit of everything. They didn't have a guy who was a target player who was tall, that could also stretch the game, but that has soft feet. He can play on the outside. He can play on the inside, back to goal, in open space. And as we've seen in his first 2 goals in Major League Soccer, he's really good up in the air. They haven't had any of that. They haven't had a single target man since the departure of Brandon Vasquez. And I might even go a step further, since the form of Brandon Vasquez towards the tail end of 22. Well, now all of a sudden, the profile fits the bill. He's made an immediate impact to 2 goals in 3 games, and it allows Lucho Acosta to go and be free in a bunch of different places. And the combination that they've been able to provide themselves with Luca Orgeron on the outside, once again, it's an FC Cincinnati team that at the tail end of 22, I just think offensively, they look more dangerous than I can remember. And that's saying something for the Supporter Shield winner of 2023.
Devin, before we get out of here, just if you can plug a little bit what's going on in MLS Season Pass, because it's not just the game broadcasts, which are fantastic. There's so much content being produced. I say it all the time. If you're a soccer fan, if you're an MLS fan, if you're a City fan, there's a lot of content to take in.
So I'm going to tell you what I say to my wife. It's the best nightmare that I never want to wake up from. And I say that because of, to your point, the amount of content, right? It is unprecedented what Apple and MLS have been able to put together for MLS Season Pass. I would watch it and be engulfed in it if I wasn't working it. And I'm fortunate that I am one of the people that has been chosen for it. You know, they give you the behind the scenes, the day of, the beautiful cultures that are all of these magnificent cities. Certainly St. Louis City, one of them, FC Cincinnati, another one that's right there at the top. But giving fans access to every single angle, level, portion of the game. We've never had it before, and it's really cool to be a part of. You know, to be a part of it and report on it firsthand is great, yet alone calling Austin against Houston last night, going back to my hotel room and being able to catch up on all the action at the flick of a wrist. Never had it before, never wanted to go anywhere else. Super fun.
Devin Kerr is one of the great soccer analysts out there. In addition to working for MLS Season Pass, he's the lead analyst for the USL Championship, the NCAA Men's College Cup, and also the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Devin, thanks so much. Have a great call this weekend, and hopefully we can catch up again down the line.
Appreciate you having me. Can't wait to come visit you guys. Best of luck.
Awesome. Very good. That's Devin Kerr joining us on the program. We appreciate him taking some time. He is a busy guy, and he is fantastic at what he does. We'll take a break and have more in just a moment. It's a Graybar Sports Open Line here on KMOX.
Lombardo
a little bit more here on the program. Big appreciation going out to Brian Stahl, who runs public relations for the Battlehawks. He's really helping us out trying to get more Battlehawks players on the show. So we had was Jake Sutherland on the other day, and now we're going to have Jared Jones-Smith on today. He's going to join us just after the 7:00 news. Chad Jennings, who's from the state of Missouri, but now is living up in Maryland, covering the Red Sox for the Athletic. He'll join us at about 7:20, and then 7:35. I've got a conversation with Missouri State basketball coach and East St. Louis native Konzo Martin as he returns to the program. I'll be honest. So when it was announced that he was returning, I meant to reach out to Missouri State Athletics to get him on. And one thing leads to another, and you kind of stuff, it's baseball season and schedules are crazy, and I didn't get to it. And then this past couple days ago, we called Moats, the athletic director, on from Missouri State because we were talking about their move from the Missouri Valley Conference to Conference USA. So I took that as an opportunity to also request to get Coach Martin. So he's going to be on with us at about 7:35. We'll talk with him about what it's like to be back at Missouri State, a place that he previously coached and had a really high level of success. And he's back there now, but the college sports landscape is really, really, really different now when it comes to name, image, likeness. I was talking to somebody just last night, somebody who's a college basketball broadcaster, and we were talking about some of the numbers that are being thrown around for these name, image, likeness. And it seems like the way to make money right now in name, image, likeness is to go to maybe a smaller school, a mid-major program, show out in the biggest way possible, and then get Power 5 schools interested in you. And then there's going to be a high 6-digit number waiting for you. There's guys out there that are making 600, 750, 950 grand. I'm sure there's some $1 million players out there, and that seems to be the route to take. So in many ways, in some ways that's good for mid-major college programs, and in some ways it's not. The good thing is previously, if you had some Power 5 offers coming out of high school, maybe you would be comfortable going to that Power 5 school and kind of waiting on your time to shine. But now I think there's a lot of value. I think there's a ton of value in instead going to a mid-major program and getting playing time early and getting good early and then leaving the program. And I know a lot of people out there don't want to hear about it being good that players are transferring out of the program, but that's the world we live in right now in college athletics. So if you are going to go out and be successful as a mid-major program, I think the pathway now is being very open with kids and saying, come do your thing here. We'll pay you a few bucks. We've got NIL money for you, but come really show out here. And then there's going to be a program from the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC that's really going to be interested in you. And they're going to pay you a lot of money. Go spend a couple years here, become an all-conference Valley player, an all-conference Ohio Valley player, an all-conference Horizon League player, an all-conference Sun Belt Conference player. Do that, and then find your way to a major conference and find your way to what is really life-changing money for somebody who's 20, 21, 22 years old. You might not like it. Even as those words come out of my mouth, it feels kind of icky because we're talking about college athletics, but that's the world we live in, and that's how you're going to be successful at a mid-major program. All right, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk Battlehawks football. That's next. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
I'm Brian Westbrook with Coalition Life. More than 11 years ago, we set out to help women right
Into our second hour of the program, we have a jam-packed hour coming up as we're going to talk with Chad Jennings from The Athletic in about 15 minutes. We'll talk about the Red Sox. That's who the Cardinals are going to play starting tomorrow. Missouri State men's basketball coach Konzo Martin is going to join us at about 7:35. But right now, we're very happy to be able to go to the guest line. We'll talk some Battlehawks football as offensive lineman Jared Jones-Smith was an all-XFL player last season, spent some time with the Washington Commanders, back with the Battlehawks this year, and he joins us right now. Jared, thanks for taking some time with us today. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, man. Appreciate you guys having me.
How's the week of preparation going as you guys get set for a big matchup against DC at the Dome coming up on Sunday?
Going well. It's been a good couple of days of practice so far. Everybody's locked in. Everybody's healthy, just ready to get this win and ready to be back in the Dome.
Gonna try to get some inside information from you. How's AJ McCarron looking this week?
He's looking healthy, man. He's looking healthy.
That's good news. That's what Battlehawks fans certainly want to hear. You mentioned getting back into the Dome. How much have you guys enjoyed just we know about the Battlehawks fans and we know about the home field advantage and we know that you guys look forward to all these games and now you're going to be kicking off at 11 o'clock coming up on Sunday against DC. What does it mean to you and to the entire team that you are getting this kind of fan support?
It's everything. That's the one thing that a lot of the guys that were here last year, that's the one thing we look forward to this whole year was being able to go back to the Dome in front of the fans and just rock out and keep getting W's. All the guys that are new to the team, it's a great first experience. Especially for some of the guys who won losing teams or teams that don't get this much support. So it's a big help. It's a big support. We look forward to it every weekend.
Was it an easy decision for you because you were in the NFL with Washington, you were on the practice squad, you had the opportunity to return to the league this year. Was that an easy decision for you to come back and to rejoin the Battlehawks?
Yeah, it was. A lot of the guys that were on the team last year that did go to the NFL, we all kind of had the same understanding when everything kind of didn't happen last year. In terms of us making it to the playoffs, we were just like we all kind of had that understanding and agreement that if we get the opportunity to come back, teams don't re-sign or we do like AJ did and ask to be let go because we had unfinished business. Just in terms of us as a team and, for the city of St. Louis, we do all this because we want to bring the city a championship. So, it was definitely an easy decision. I stayed in contact with all the guys throughout the year. So, especially for me, it was an easy decision because we're the only group that brought a whole starting offensive line back. We've been healthy and we've been rolling. So, it was a real easy decision.
It's interesting because when you think about if you want to call the league a developmental league, it's a league where everybody's trying to get back or get to the NFL. When you think about leagues like that for any sport, a lot of times it's about guys trying to do things for themselves, but you're talking about a group of individuals that are really putting the team first and want to do something special this year. How does that kind of culture and that passion for the city and for the team, how does that develop?
It starts with, just a love for the game and competing. It starts in training camp. Last year for most of us had never been to St. Louis. So, just getting to understand the culture of St. Louis every time we got to play at home last year and learning a little bit more about it, you fall in love with the city, and the city is real easy to fall in love with. The fans are easy to fall in love with. The fan support showing up every week. It's real easy to fall in love with the city, the fans, you know, and like I said, you know, we're all competitors and we all love to compete. And there's no better feeling than hearing your home team, hearing your home fans when you run out that tunnel screaming and cheering. And every time you score, seeing how excited everybody gets, you know, the kids that show up, that look up to us, it's all an inspiration to us, man. You know, we're inspired by the fans just as much as we're inspired by them. So,
is there a little chip on the shoulder for the team right now, coming off a loss last week?
Yeah, in a sense, but we're not looking at it that way. You know, it's one game. You know, we're still in the driver's seat, and you know, we control our destiny. So, like I said, we're locked in, laser focused on this week. You know, just ready to finish the season out strong, get this dub, and just keep stacking dubs.
Now, we're talking with Jared Jones-Smith from the Battlehawks. I understand that you've kind of moved into the role of being the unofficial team DJ. You're choosing the music in the locker room, on the practice field. How does that work? I mean, is it just kind of is it a playlist? Are you selecting different music from one day to the next? Take me through your thought process as you're putting the music together.
It's a little bit of both. Some days it's, you know, kind of what the team is feeling. How's the team feeling? I mean, I got a couple different playlists that I put on between practice and games. But a lot of it is, you know, requests. You know, everybody's got at least on game days, most of it is all requests. Everybody's got at least one, maybe two songs that everybody needs to listen to at some point in time pregame. So game day is normally just a lot of requests. But practice, yeah, like I said, it's a different mix of kind of what the vibe is for the day, how practice is supposed to go. But I mean, like I said, it depends on the day. You know, we'll have a throwback Thursday. You know, we get a little white boy Wednesday in there. You know, we get a good mix of everything.
That's awesome. What's the song that you need to hear before the game, personally?
Me personally, you know, Philly guy, it's gonna be Dreams and Nightmares by Meek Mill. That song just stands out. That album drops my senior year of high school, so that song will always get me hyped and ready for a game till the end of time. So for me, that's one that I always gotta listen to.
You're a Renaissance man. You're a football player. You do the music, and then I understand you do some modeling. You've acted in some independent movies. I mean, is there anything you don't do?
You know, hey, there's a lot of things that I don't know how to do, but I'm definitely interested in learning how to do. So, I mean, you know, got to keep open mindset, got to be willing to adapt to everything. You know, always be open to new opportunities.
Last thing for you, I also understand that you've got a fine taste for food. Do you get, because I know you guys come in from Texas, you're not in very long, and then you get back out. Do you get any opportunity to get around St. Louis and taste the different restaurants and different food and things like that?
Yeah, normally we have a little bit of time to get out, explore. I'm not gonna lie, my little tradition, at least for this year, I normally order something from Drake's, little bar and grill. That's been my one spot that I at least got to order something, whether it's a snack, a meal. But nah, we do get out and try to explore the city pretty often. I know last year I was able to get out a little bit more. But yeah.
He is Jared Jones-Smith. This weekend, DC Defenders. If you haven't been to a Battlehawks game yet, you got to go. You got to go. Fantastic environment. An 11 a.m. kickoff on Sunday. Tickets available at the Battlehawks website, theufl.com, Ticketmaster. Tickets are also going on sale for the the UFL championship game, which is going to be played in St. Louis, and hopefully the Battlehawks are going to be in there as well. Jared, thanks so much for taking your time. It was great to get to know you a little bit, and hopefully we can catch up again down the line.
Oh, yes, sir. Sir. Definitely looking forward to it.
All right, awesome. That's Jared Jones-Smith joining us from the Battlehawks. Again, Get your tickets. Sunday, 11 a.m. kick. They take on DC, looking for a big bounce back. They've been playing fantastic football. I finally got to my first Battlehawks game this year, and I loved it. It was so much fun, and they do such a great job. And it's a high level of football. If you haven't taken the time to see what's going on, I would encourage you to do so. All right, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk some baseball. Chad Jennings covers the Red Sox for The Athletic. The Red Sox rolling into town for a 3-game series starting tomorrow. We'll talk with Chad in just a moment. It's a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Power, printers, faster.
For nutritional support you won't find anywhere else. Start supporting your nutrition the easy way with Neovitin multivitamins. Sign up for a Neovitin subscription today at neovitin.com.
Diverse opinions, mutual respect. That's the politics you'll find at KMOX. Your connection to St. Louis and the region.
It's a Gray Bar Sports Open Line here on KMOX. My name's Matt Pauley. Have you for another 40 minutes or so. The St. Louis City Soccer Report comes your way tonight at 8 o'clock. No Cardinals baseball back at tomorrow. They welcome in the Boston Red Sox for a 3-game series. Tomorrow's first pitch, 7:15, so coverage going to begin at 6:20 here on KMOX. When the Cardinals and the Red Sox match up against each other, we got to bring in this guy. Has ties to the state of Missouri, now covering the Red Sox for The Athletic. He is Chad Jennings at Chad Jennings 22. Chad, appreciate you taking the time once again. Now, do I remember correctly? Are you a Sykeston guy? Is that correct?
That's right. Sykeston and then Mizzou.
Okay, so you've got all kinds of ties to the state, and I always appreciate your bio line on your Twitter account where it says former Missouri tractor driver.
That's right. I could still do it. We've brought the kids back home and had them on a tractor before. They do all right.
Okay,
I remember how to do it.
All right. So, do you ever really get on the tractor, or is it just kind of the we're back home, let's have a little fun with this?
It's more we're back home. Let's have fun with this. A couple of years ago, 2 years ago, I went home. I was going to go home for a week and help my dad plant corn, and it rained the whole week we were there. So we kind of got washed out, and it just became kind of more goofing around and having fun.
Deep down, were you happy it got washed out, or were you bummed out?
No, I hadn't really done it. I hadn't been, driving a tractor in a field in probably 20 years. So I was kind of looking forward to it. Now I feel that way now. I think, get me an hour into a 40-acre field, I'd have been pretty over it. But in the beginning, it sounded like a good time.
Fair enough. Red Sox are wrapping up a series against the Rays today. Are we bothering you from the game, by the way?
No, I'm actually not at Fenway tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, you're not missing much. The Red Sox are losing 5-1 in the top of the fourth inning. It's been a kind of an odd season for the Red Sox. Obviously, it's a new era, but they're still kind of a 500 team. How do you evaluate what you've seen through the first month and a half or so of the season?
No, they pitched. I mean, that was, the reason to be down on the team was that they weren't going to pitch. And I mean, they have the lowest ERA in the majors with, honestly, aside from Tanner Houck, because he grew up there, I don't know if listeners there could name a starting pitcher on this team. Cutter Crawford is like he was a 16th round pick and has become he's been legitimately really good. Nick Pivetta has kind of come back from when, the Phillies were basically ready to give up on him. The Red Sox threw him in the bullpen early last year, and now he's back pitching pretty well. Brian Bayo, Cooper Criswell is the one who pitched today. I mean, they and the bullpen's been really good. They just pitched really well. They've also gotten a lot of production from this guy named Tyler O'Neill, who has been really good for them. I don't think that anyone here is they're not lining up the duck boats for a World Series parade just yet, but they've been really competitive. And after a stretch here of losing records and what was it, 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5 years? I mean, they've really been struggling, and this did not feel like the year when that was going to turn. And here we are a month and a half into the season, almost 2 months in, and they've been legitimately competitive and pretty good.
Kevin Wheeler is a guy who also works here at KMOX. He and I were talking earlier today. One of the odd things about the Red Sox is their pitchers don't throw a lot of fastballs. They're doing this with breaking stuff, and generally speaking, I don't know, that just it's their pitching profile seems unique. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, that's some of it. They have a big, part of their philosophy is, you don't have to establish fastball. I think that had always been sort of the go-to is, that's the way you pitch, right? And I think across the league, you're seeing teams get away from that a little bit. Now, the Red Sox have been extreme in that, but they've never had a ton of guys who throw all that hard. And so I think they've, allowing guys to lean into that a little bit, they're not throwing fastballs. I mean, there are a lot of guys throwing cutters, which, they're going to use in a sort of similar way. And, but yeah, it's definitely changing. I mean, they brought in Craig Breslow as the new head of baseball ops, and obviously a longtime pitcher, and that's sort of his specialty. Brought in Andrew Bailey as the new pitching coach, and really, completely restructured the pitching program here. And it's, it sure seems to be working. They brought in a handful of new guys, some young arms, especially in the bullpen. But, this is a team, the pitching staff, mostly guys like late round picks. I mean, Tanner Houck from Mizzou is the only first rounder on the pitching staff. And, they've all sort of found a way to do this. And like you said, it's not all just with pure, just guys throwing 97, 98 miles per hour. They've got guys who are spinning the ball and still able to throw strikes and get ahead and be productive with that.
You mentioned Tyler O'Neill, and he was not the most beloved player in St. Louis. He had a hard time staying healthy in St. Louis, except for that 1 year where he was among the top 10 in MVP voting. But 10 home runs for him. He's tied for 8th in number of home runs. Where should we set the over-under, by the way, for this series for home runs for O'Neill against the Cardinals?
I guess you set the over-under at 2, right? I mean, but I would think, because I think I don't know. I would feel like that guy's going to be pretty amped to get back there. I think that he's a pretty safe bet for 1. And then you think he's going to go off a little bit. But no, look, he's been good. I mean, he's had some health issues here, but nothing like, kind of what he went through for long stretches in St. Louis. But yeah, I mean, he's been good. It's kind of and again, it was supposed to be a little bit of it still kind of is a kind of a mix and match outfield. But they lost Trevor Story at shortstop, and they've had to move this kid Ceddanne Rafaela from center and play him at short. He can kind of play anywhere. He's a young, really good defender, kind of wherever you put him. And right now they're playing without Tristan Casas. They're really good young first baseman, and that's sort of forced them to scramble a little bit. And they have kind of a league average offense. I realize right now, speaking to Cardinals fans, I can't dismiss the league average offense. I think you'd be really thrilled with that at this point. But that's not their strength right now. They finally got Vaughn Grissom back playing second base. He should add a little bit to it. But really, I mean, what's kept these guys going? Their offense is fine. They can hit. Rafael Devers is still really, really good. As you said, Tyler O'Neill's having a great year. Their catchers, kid Connor Wong, is having a great year at the plate. But it's they've stayed relevant because of pitching.
Some guys came over from Boston. Ryan Fernandez, a Rule 5 guy. He's done a nice job this year in the bullpen for the Cardinals. Nick Robertson didn't have a great day yesterday, but overall has done a nice job. So it works both ways. I'm sure those guys are going to look forward for an opportunity to face off against their former organization.
Yeah, I'm sure. Robertson wasn't here for very long. Fernandez was, like you said, a Rule 5 pick. But yeah, I mean, that's certainly there. But yeah, I mean, I think that the Cardinals have bigger problems right now than worrying about, how a couple of their relievers are going to feel against their old team.
Yeah, that's very true. Chaim Bloom's in the Cardinals organization now. He's working as a special advisor. And as somebody who takes phone calls, there's a lot of Cardinals fans who are looking forward to whoever the next guy is going to be to run this baseball operation once John Mozeliak does move on, whether it's at the end of his contract at the end of next year or somewhat before then. And Bloom's name gets mentioned a lot. As somebody who watched what he did in Boston, is this somebody who you do expect is going to get another opportunity at some point to run his own team?
Yeah, I think he'll get an opportunity to. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Chaim went to St. Louis thinking that he's the next in line or anything. But look, he's smart. It didn't work here, right? But he was also in a weird spot. I mean, he came in at a time when clearly the organization was ready to trade Mookie Betts. You can't come in and have your first move be trading, a generational player who the organization just decided was not going to sign long term. And then, the thing I appreciated about Chaim in the time I covered him is at no point does he make a move or a decision that he can't explain the logic behind it. And the logic always makes sense. He's never flying by the seat of his pants, right? When he's trying to do what the Red Sox are trying to do, where he has to make some trades and get prospects, and a ton of the prospects he brought in just didn't work. And some of that's, the nature of the business. You're bringing in a bunch of young guys and you're hoping that some of them hit. And when just uniformly they don't, that's going to happen. He made some moves here that were easy to question in hindsight, bringing back Jackie Bradley Jr. and some of these, some mistakes. I mean, he made moves here that I think he would say didn't work, but there's a logic behind it. And I do think he had set this team up in a good position going forward. If he'd been allowed to stay, some of the work that he did here, even in terms of keeping a Tristan Casas and keeping Brian Bayo and keeping Jarren Duran and keeping Connor Wong instead of, back in 21 when they were pretty good and maybe could have gone heavier at the trade deadline and didn't. He set up some things here that worked. The long-term deal with Trevor Story did not work at all because he's been hurt so much. and the main prospect they got in the Mookie deal was this kid Jeter Downs, who just, was supposed to be at least a solid second baseman and has become like he's not even really been a usable utility player. So things didn't work, but I think that if he is, if he were to be the guy, or just even if you're wondering about kind of the role he might be playing there, is even in this sort of secondary position, I'm smart and thoughtful. And I think that's the thing, at least in covering him, that I really appreciated, is that he was very good at talking through, here's sort of what I was thinking. Here's what I'm trying to do. Here's how I see this playing. And I like that about him.
He is Chad Jennings. He covers the Red Sox for The Athletic, at Chad Jennings 22 on Twitter. Chad, always appreciate your time, and we'll talk Missouri tractor driving again a year from now when the Cardinals and Red Sox are playing again.
That sounds great. I look forward to it.
All right, very good. Thanks for your time. Chad Jennings joining us here on the program. When we come back, Cuonzo Martin, the head men's basketball coach at Missouri State, he joins us back at a program where he had a lot of success previously, native of East St. Louis. We'll talk with him in just a moment. This is a Graybar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Talk about MVPs and award-winning talent. Chesterfield Fence and
Very happy to welcome on to the program a very familiar name, somebody we've been meaning to talk to for quite some time, since it was announced more than a month ago that he was going to return to lead Missouri State basketball. It is Coach Cuonzo Martin. Coach, appreciate you taking some time with us today. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing all right. What has it been like for you since the announcement that you were set to return to where we're at right now? A lot of things have happened. You've added a staff. You've added a number of players. The school has announced they're going to be changing leagues. I mean, a lot has happened here in the last month or so.
Yes, it's been good. Exciting times. We finished up recruiting. We probably have one more scholarship, give or take, to get. But we have everybody in place. We got the core guys we're really fighting to get. We did a great job in recruiting. Just happy to be back. Exciting times, a lot of energy on campus. Just really ready to get started June 3rd.
What's it like right now in college basketball where, because of the transfer portal, when you come into a program, you're going to build some things out for 2, 3, 4 years, but at the same time, you're able to use the portal and really make major changes to your program and to your roster in 1 year?
Well, the thing I look at it is ultimately, of course, everybody wants to win, so that part is understood. But I think ultimately, you're developing young men. Those are the things we talk about with our staff. How can we help this young man be the best version of himself each and every day, ultimately when the year is over with? But we're not getting consumed with saying, we're only coaching a guy for 1 year because he's possibly going to transfer. We'll coach him the old school way from the standpoint he's a part of our family, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 3 or 4 years. So we'll coach that way. So we won't talk in terms of 1 year. But I just think it's exciting because at the end of the day, our goal is to win games, to help develop these players on and off the court and let the chips fall they may. But I can't get consumed with the other part of you. You work a guy, you recruit him so hard, you build a relationship with him. He decides to transfer where he feels there's something better or it needs a change. That's his right. I think the 2 years off gave me grace to really absorb that piece. And so it's just a joy to be back in it now.
Yeah, I was listening actually to Doug Gottlieb, who he just got hired at Wisconsin Green Bay, and he said something that I really hadn't heard many coaches say at the non-Power 5 level. And he talked about the success story that it is. If a kid comes in and plays a year or two for him and then gets to go to a Power 5 school and make some really big NIL money, that's actually a success story for his program. Do you view it that way, or do you view it kind of differently?
Well, I certainly agree with that because, again, I think any time a young man is to gain financially, of course you get a scholarship, but now to be able to gain finances, to be able to help your family, help yourself, to help your life when you're done playing college basketball, whether you're a professional player or not, that is growth, and that's ultimately creating generational wealth. So that means I don't have credit cards, I don't have to pay bills, I don't owe all this stuff when I leave college. So now I'm ahead of the game, and I think that's how you grow in your wealth, when you're able to do things like that. So for me, if you get a young man, he plays well, and he has a chance to go somewhere high, if that's the case, that's his choice, because my goal is to fight to keep him where we are. But if he decided to go somewhere else, that's fine with me, because at the end of the day, you can get another guy and say, look what we did for this guy. Because if you're a developer, you're a developer anyway. So it doesn't matter if you got freshmen, transfers, grad guys. If you enjoy coaching, you enjoy developing young guys, you build your team the way you see fit. But I think sometimes others get consumed with what everybody else is doing. So now let me get older guys. Well, I think that was a stat where it was like 11 teams last year, 9 to 11 teams had older guys and transfers, and none of those teams made the tournament. Because there still have to be a level of camaraderie and togetherness when you're building your team.
What's different? What's the same? And I asked this question knowing that you haven't played any games yet being back. But as you've been back around the program, a place that you were at previously, does it feel familiar to you, or does it feel very different?
It feels the same. The difference is when I took the job in 2008, now it's 2024. The life experiences, the experience of a head coach, and the things that you go through the first time when you're moving so fast, you really can't see because you have blinders on. And everything is moving fast. It's one day at a time. You try to win games the best you can, and it's your first time being a head coach. So there's so many unknowns. But now all of a sudden you're talking, 16 years later, just the growth of a man and my life experiences. But what doesn't change is me giving, me being present, me leading, me operating in integrity. One thing will change. I need to be well rested because of those previous years, I was just so consumed but trying to be the best version that I can become. Whereas all of a sudden you're rolling on 4 or 5 hours of sleep max, and then you ultimately continue to have compassion. But I think the other thing for me to change is to coach with joy and to show joy, and I always had it internally and in practice and wins and all, but you got to be able to exude that all the time. And I think that's one of the things that I think I work toward, and hopefully I can master that skill.
We're talking with Cuonzo Martin, of course, a native of the area. East St. Louis is where he grew up and went to high school. You mentioned the time off since your time at the University of Missouri came to an end. How did you spend your time over the last couple of years?
Enjoying life. Just as a coach, you see coaches coach games, and you assume because they make an X amount of dollars that they live a great life, but you never get a chance to enjoy a lot of things, because even when you're on vacation, because you have to make time for your vacation, because in college basketball there's no time off, where there's no month of recruiting, no games, no nothing. There's always something going on, so you have to make vacation time, and even when you're on vacation, though your body is there, but you're not really present because you're consumed with phone calls, text messages. You're still recruiting, stuff happening on campus. So it never really stops. You never get a chance to truly enjoy your family and being away from the game. But my time off, it was just really almost like clockwork. It was my wife and I would take my daughter to school, and now she's driving. But I'd come back, my wife and I walk 2 miles with the dog, and then we go work out together. And then after that, just kind of, whether it's my reading, spiritual reading, writing, my wife, she would do what she do. Then we go pick my daughter up, and then we eat dinner, do whatever. And then when my daughter started driving, just my wife and I. So it was always great. This is always great dialogue with my wife. We grow together, and just a lot of things business-wise we talk about growing in that area. So it was wonderful to have that kind of time off. I wish every coach could get at least 2 months completely away from the game, recruiting and all those things. I think you'll see better coaches and better people, because right now it's almost as though the game is basketball, but it's almost as if you're jumping in a boxing ring. You just boxing, you're fighting every day. You're trying to be the best version, but you're fighting and you're slowly losing. You don't realize, even though the scoreboard might say something different, you're slowly losing because physically you're being drained. You're not eating properly. You're not sleeping. You're not doing all these things. You're not getting the coaching or the counseling or the psychological needs that you need as a coach to continue to strengthen you mentally and physically. And you eventually just break down, and it's just a matter of time when it shows up. And so for me, these 2 years off were great.
That's great. I think people should listen to what you just said. That is fantastic advice. I think even for people beyond coaching, if you've got the ability to do it. When the job came open, did you immediately know you were interested, or did it take some thought from you?
No. Because again, I was, now I will say this, I've always enjoyed leading. And then when I got into coaching, I always enjoyed coaching to see young men develop. And I always felt like, you're trying to win every game, but I always felt like we were winning if I could see a young man grow and develop his personal skills as well as his basketball skills. So for me, I always enjoyed that part. In saying that, I was okay with walking away for good. I was okay with it. And if it was over, it was over. And that was because my choice, because I had opportunities the first year out, a lot of calls, but it just wasn't the desire. And then in 2023, I just know. And then when this came around, my wife just kind of said it. I think that's your joy. I think that's what you want to do. But just know that it's you want to do it. We're okay with you not doing it. And then when the opportunity came, because I had other calls, but when the opportunity came with Missouri State, I just felt like there's a comfort level with this new landscape of name, image, and likeness. Where can I go? If you have to raise money or get resources for name, image, and likeness, where can you go with people you probably know if you need to ask for assistance that way, or people you can reach out to? At least you're familiar with the area as opposed to going somewhere like, let's say, New York, California, down south, if I'm recruiting somewhere and I don't really know the base to really build those relationships. You're almost a dead man walking. So for me, it was just a matter of getting comfortable with people. I'm used to being around in a great situation of people I think value the sport, and one I feel comfortable with.
Just a couple more questions for Missouri State basketball coach Cuonzo Martin. Coach, the programs, the entire athletic department's moving to Conference USA. I think from a basketball standpoint, there's people in St. Louis that kind of lament it because no more Arch Madness, and there's some great rivalries in there. But from an overall athletic department standpoint, it's an opportunity to get football into the bowl subdivision. There's going to be some more resources for the university overall being in Conference USA. What's your take on this move, which obviously there's some positives to it, but also some negatives to it?
Well, I think for me, it's all positive. I like to hear your negatives, Matt, maybe off the air. I like to hear them. But for me, it's all good because at the end of the day, it's still the sport. And our goal is to win basketball games. And ultimately, as a coach and a teacher, my job is to make sure we all have a shared mission within our program. And then as a leader, we got to make sure we're the best version of ourselves on the court. We got to make sure we get the highest form of education possible. Let's not just get a class and say, I got a degree. Let's get one where we can max out our potential. What do we want to be if we didn't play in the sport? So the education has to be at a premium. And then we have to still value family. And then ultimately, you got to value life. And I think those are things I've always talked about. But 2 years off, there's a true appreciation for life and the small things in life. We say it all the time, but I really believe that. So we got to enjoy this thing that we're doing with our young men and our coaching staff. So it doesn't matter what league, it's still the same thing. You're trying to win basketball games. You're trying to be the best team in that league. You're trying to get to the NCAA tournament. So that doesn't stop for me. Now, I'm not sure what the cons are, but for me, they're all pros because, again, it's still a joy to do something we love doing, and you get a degree and you're playing great basketball. You're playing in a great arena and a great community. So I like to know the cons when we get off the air, Max. I'm willing to listen and learn.
All right, fair enough. Last thing for you before that, can you talk about the impact of the city of St. Louis to what you do? I mean, you've got St. Louis kids on your roster. You're just a few hours away from the city. You're from the area. You've always recruited this area. Just how important is it for being able to continue to have that pipeline from St. Louis to Springfield?
Well, I think St. Louis is a great community. A lot of wonderful people, a lot of wonderful teachers, meaning high school coaches, grassroots coaches. I have relationships at all levels, superintendents of school. And I think when you're recruiting young men, and as we know in this business, it's the families as well as the people in the school systems. I think that is very important. So, and I think they have the principals, the superintendents, they have an eye for talent. They know where their young men want to go. And I think I've built such great relationships, and they know what I try to do for young men on and off the court. So it's always been good to me, man. And I'm happy to be back in the area.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, we're really happy to have you back in the area. We're excited to see where Missouri State basketball is going to go from here. Thank you so much for taking some time with us today.
Thank you for having me, Matt.
That is Missouri State men's basketball coach Cuonzo Martin. We appreciate his time as he really is building a future at Missouri State. Speaking of building the future, it's sponsored by Gray Bar, headquartered in St. Louis. It's a great place to work. We'll come back. We'll preview the St. Louis City soccer report that's coming up this evening. More in just a moment. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Do you limp out of bed with a sharp pain in your heel?
Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Starting to wrap up this edition of the program, What's on Deck? As always, that is presented by Chesterfield Fence and Deck, the sign you have the very best. Well, that's kind of a two-tiered thing. From a Cardinal standpoint, they're back at tomorrow night as they're going to match up against Boston. That's going to be a 7:15 first pitch, 6:20 for pregame coverage. Kyle Gibson against Brian Bayo. And tomorrow night, Friday Night Live by Lowe's, Mike Matheny is going to be the featured guest. So if you can't get out there live, and we encourage you to head that way, you can certainly listen right here on KMOX. Also, what's on deck is the St. Louis City Soccer Report. Jen Cease and special guest host this week as Santiago Beltran's in the house. They're both with us. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Santi?
Doing great.
Great to see you. Have you been to the KMOX studios before?
Yeah, I did the show.
I've
with
suckered
Jen
him in to do
once.
this before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So Nate Gatter evidently
Nate who?
has the
Excuse
day
me,
off.
who's that guy?
You really take it
Who's that
personally
guy?
when Nate needs a
Why
day
is he
off.
having other plans? What are you doing? We're talking soccer.
Tough second half yesterday for City, and now a quick turnaround against a really good FC Cincinnati team.
That's right. And one of those we've talked about it for Santi. It's not. Strikingly, it's from Saturday to Wednesday. You lose a day from Wednesday to Saturday.
Yeah. There's probably going to be some rotation because rest time is just a couple of days, and guys played on Saturday, then last night. So we'll probably see some rotation in the lineup on Saturday.
Do you lament the fact that they can't come away with a win at home? These home matches seem to be so important.
I do, but with an LAFC, I won't lie, I would have been perfectly happy with the draw. I would have, Santi.
Yeah, I would have taken the draw too. But yeah, winning at home, it's very important in this league because getting results away is very difficult. And you mentioned Cincinnati, a team that is doing great this season, is going to be a really difficult game.
So Jen and Santiago, they will have you for the St. Louis City Soccer Report, which will begin after the 8 o'clock news. I'll be back with you tomorrow, a little bit after 6 o'clock. We might get a little sports open line in, and then Cardinals coverage begins tomorrow at 6:20. Thanks so much for being tuned in. Thanks to all of our guests. What a busy show we had tonight. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Don't go anywhere. The St. Louis City Soccer Report on the way next, right here on KMOX.
Get the most important woman in your life, a 5-carat certified